Generic greetings and welcome back to Prison Architect and a look at the latest update called The Bucket and the free accompanying DLC called Cleared for Transfer. This is episode 0 of a new series, and the purpose of an episode 0 is to go over the tweaks, changes and patch notes to see what has been added and changed and that sort of thing, but also to give a bit of perspective on what we want to accomplish in the subsequent episodes. Episode 1 naturally will be the rough planning of the prison, and then episode 2 onwards will be the building and execution of the prisoners. Actually, that came out very wrong. I didn't mean execution of the prisoners, I meant execution of the overall process and building and management side of it, although we may do the former. I haven't yet decided. Either way, let's roll back a little bit and check out, like I said, the Cleared for Transfer DLC and the Bucket update patch notes, and then I'm going to load up a previous prison that we've made in a series before and show you how a lot of these additions would have benefited some different builds, just as I said, to give you a bit of perspective and overview on what we want to accomplish. So the Cleared for Transfer DLC and the Bucket Update are together, they complement one another. I don't know why they've been split up, but either way, the Cleared for Transfer DLC is the easiest one to go over as a brief overview. Essentially, it allows you to set up certain policies and changes in order to semi-automate the changing of a prisoner's category. So in previous builds, you've obviously been able to move prisoners from, say, low risk to high risk, back over to medium risk, that sort of thing. However, the Cleared for Transfer stuff has an added bonus that you can set up certain policies and suggestions in order for the prisoners to then be categorized to then maybe move down to a previous grading, to a lower grading, should I say. And the reason that that's a good thing is it also now affects the prisoner's behaviour. So, for example, a high-risk prisoner might be in there for whatever reason. They might have been instigated, they might, I wouldn't say be innocent of what they've been accused of, but basically they're not entirely a high-risk prisoner as a general rule, and they want to move down back to, say, medium and then low risk. This obviously only really makes any sort of difference in a mixed prison facility. So what you would do is have these policies set up so that you would say, right, if you haven't fought in, say, 3 days, if you haven't attacked anyone within 5 days, if you haven't done any damage in a week, if you haven't tried to escape, etc., as long as all of these boxes are ticked, they then get an option to, well, we get an option to move them down to the previous one, and this affects their behaviour. That's the main takeaway point from this, is that it's not just a case of, it just gives you a quick automation. It actually affects the prisoner's behaviour, and they'll maybe say, if they want access to, say, the really nice gymnasium that's now in the game, that might be a previous risk, and in order to get access to that, they have to behave. So it has a mechanical effect on the prisoner's actions and behaviours, which I think is really, really cool. The Bucket Update is obviously a complement alongside that one, and we can see there's some new items: treadmill, indoor tree planter, boxing ring, table football, glass window, wooden statue, and much, much more. Essentially, there's a lot more items, and the reason there's a lot more items is that now multiple gradings in different rooms. So previously, we had gradings in cells and dormitories, but now we've got grading in yards, canteens, common rooms, and more. So it means, there's also a new gym as well, which you can have grading. Obviously, you can turn this off if you really want to. You don't want to be managing that, but it means if you've got a higher grading one, again, prisoners might want to have access to that, and you can set up all of the policies, allow them to go in there or not go in there. So it's a bit more of a carrot rather than the stick approach. We've got new walls, decayed, derelict, rusty, slum, bamboo, fence, security sectors, and more. And these have a positive and negative effect on the prisoners, the grading of the cell. So if you put, like I say, a decayed wall around a cell, and that will actually negatively affect the grading, so you can create basically some horrible hellholes if you do want to break several international laws and treaties. New doors, we've got bamboo gate and white stripes. I really don't know how effective those are going to be against stopping prisoners, but there you are. New floors, we've got flowery field, running track, fast, and bamboo, and new fence options with grass below. Finally! It's only taken 7 years. Okay, so we've got new room quality in logistics, showing the grade comfort facilities per rooms. Some new walls items, lower the security secting of a grade, which you mentioned previously. New sector grading in logistics. The grade combines the facilities, privileges, and room grades within the sector. We'll check that out later on. A brand new gym room type, so that's where we'll put our boxing ring and weights and that sort of thing, which can give the prisoners extra traits. So if they have strong, they can become extremely strong and extremely tough and that sort of thing. So it might necessarily not be a great thing. We've got new quick rooms, armory, infirmary, and library. Punishments and searches, ED, shakedown, bang up, etc., can now be initiated from the per security sector, so turned on off in game options. So we can initiate just, say, a high risk search or low risk and that sort of thing, which is pretty good. We've got custom security sectors, which is also a very nice touch. I'll show you that later on. Deployment for cooks, doctors, and other staff is now assigned. So instead of having, you would have 2 canteens and they would all work on one canteen and one person on the other, you can now directly assign them. So we've got a bit more options for the micromanagement there. Remember, the rule is that if you can't fix the game, you get the players to fix it yourself. That's actually not a glib statement. I'm being serious that actually, yes. It does work for the most part. In fact, the only problem I've really had is with doctors these days, where they would all go on break at one time and maybe work at one infirmary, but now we have the option to directly assign them, which I think is a good thing. Having that option, it's there if we need it. Gardeners and janitors are now prioritised within certain areas. New signs, which I never really used previously, but it's in there. New policy UI for meal and parole options. It's actually quite a detailed one, so there we are. Auto foundations can be toggled on or off in planning. New forestry prison labour, which is something you have to research as well, so you can assign them to forestry. And then we've got loads of quality life improvements. So staff menus allow you to drag over and fire multiple ones, adjust to the object shared between the minimum and maximum menus, vehicle speed and support for removing shadow casting, apparently for modding, yeah, and loads of other stuff. I'm not going to go through all of this because it is quite it's not going to be an exhaustive list that we're going to go through here. So yeah, basically there's a lot more stuff that's been changed. So fixes to mailroom system and mail backlog, which I'm looking forward to. Bridges can now be built over walls. I'm just hoping bridges work for me this time. Switching fog off no longer reveals shadows behind. Cool. Doors within windows are now semi-transparent. I didn't even know that was a thing. Either way, loads of changes there. But what I want to do, load prison, go right down here, and I'm loading up F19, which is, I don't even know why it's called that, but I'm just going to pause it here. And we can see that this is a prison that we built quite a while ago now, and essentially it was within the prison within a prison challenge that we set ourselves. So I think this is, it might even be a large map, but certainly not a smaller, it must have to be a large one then. I was going to say, it's not a small or medium, it can only really be a large map, or it could have been a medium that was expanded. Realistically, it's probably the large map. We can see that their entrance is on the bottom there. We've got all of the security systems, all of the parole and warden's office and things like that down the bottom, all of the power, and then also protective custody here as well. And then 3 fully realised prisons within one prison map. So this is low risk, medium risk, and high risk, including, I believe, some gang members. Let me have a quick look because I can't really remember. Yes, we do have some gang members, and the idea was that we separate these as we have done so. And the problem that we had is that we could never really fully utilise everything here. Oh, by the way, it's also a female prison, so obviously we also have the nursery at the top there, as you can see. This one doesn't because this is high risk, and you don't have, I don't think you get anyone coming through high risk with child in tow, so I think that's why. Anyway, so they are, like I said, it was a problem when we built it because we couldn't set up certain privileges for each individual grading, which did cause not a massive problem, but it was just a little bit irksome. The overall design is pretty much the same between all 3. The major change is basically between the high risk and the other 2 risks. So the low and medium risk has the nursery at the top. It has also a standard visitation on the bottom left in that one, and the difference is obviously the visitation for the high risk is the visitor booth, so no contact across there. And also we have, instead of the nursery, some more cells and some more solitary. We do have grading on this one, so you can see all of these cells are graded in some way. In fact, I say you can see it. I should probably turn that on so you can indeed see that. We've got room quality, and we can see we've got different room qualities there, and it shows you that there's a lot more stuff in there now. So we've got things like, for example, pet bird, so you've got a caged bird there, canvas and paints, punch bag, comfy bed, that sort of thing. And you've got old bed, which reduces it. And you see no windows, it actually reduces the cell quality, so that is something you have to take into account. So even these ones here, you can see the grade is, it says, well, 3 out of 0, actually 0, sorry, the grade is 0, yeah, whereas the reason for that is basically it's got the right room size, which is 6 squares, but it's got -1 because of no windows, so it's the most basic cell that you can manage. These ones, however, you can see are quite good. Grade now goes up to 15 rather than 10 by the look of it as well, which is pretty cool. And also, you've got grading in each of these yards, and the canteen, and the common room, and the classroom as well. So a lot more grading across the board there. I've just realised as well that there is a slight change in this one and this one, in that this has got dormitories as opposed to the big group of cells there. So this is, like I said, some of the one of the prisons that we had a little bit of a problem with, and there's some things that we couldn't change. But now if we go over to reports and down to our policy, we can see that the policy the policy page has changed massively. So now we have the privilege policy for the low, medium, high, supermax, death row, protective custody, and criminally insane inmates. And each one of these has a separate option for visitation, whether they get mail, whether they can work in the prison, whether you've got different programs, so work, education, well-being, etc. So if I wanted to, say, have mail across the board, it's pretty much as it is there. I might say death row. Death row actually isn't allowed mail. I think some of them, it is locked. You can't set them up, but things like for the supermax and the high risk, we don't want them to work in the facility. Now, in this particular case, it's not too much of a problem because A, we don't have any place for them to work, and B, they are in separate prison systems anyway, so it doesn't really matter. However, if we had a common area for working, it means that we can turn off labour for, say, those two there. Also, for programs, we probably don't want work programs for these two as well. Education, we could probably turn off if you wanted to for the low risk and things like, you can change all that, which is pretty cool. Furthermore, down the bottom, you also have the misconduct policy, so we'll have a scroll down here. And you can see that each individual one is now, again, separated. So low, medium, high, supermax, death row, protective custody, and the criminally insane. And you can say either match with the supermax, so you can, or whatever you want. So you can say, right, I'm going to have the... let's say recommended for the high risk, and we'll say recommended for supermax, and you can see it changes all of the policies here. So it's altered. It's the same sort of policies that we've seen previously, but now it's just separated into these individual tabs, and the punishment is set based on the categorization of the prisoner. So we can say, for example, the supermax one, we want to match that with the medium, minimum, maximum security prisoners, so it is now the same. Naturally, we wouldn't want to do that because if they murder someone, it goes to sec up. They're already at max sec, so you would just change that to none. But you get the idea that, again, you can change the entire policy there. So the low-risk prisoners, if we just say recommend all of them, we can see the big difference between... We'll go between the low risk and the high risk, so you can see that basically if the low risk, they do anything like destruction or attack prisoner or anything like that, they get a little bit of lockdown or solitary for some of them. And there's very few searches. It's only if they murder someone that their cells and themselves actually get searched and then their sec goes up. Whereas if we go for the high risk, basically they're always getting searched if anything happens, including the cells for a lot of these items. So there you are. That's actually say recommended for death row, which is obviously the most, yeah. So basically death row, if they do anything, they get solitary for a minimum of 3 hours or 2 hours if they have luxuries, and their cell even gets searched. We've also got similar thing for the nutritional policy. You can select or deselect any of these here as well, and you can also set up things like the recommend all. So we'll say select all and then recommend, and it changes this, so we've got various. So if we unselect all of these, we can see that we have for the minimum, we have the minimum security prisoner, they have high meal quantity and medium variety, where if we select the medium security, it's minimum and medium, and then over to the maximum risk, it's medium and then low. So it's again changed all that. So I'll just say select all and then recommend, and it changes that based on the grading as well. So pretty good. I don't know exactly how it would affect it. I'm guessing it's because, well, I thought it would because you would see high quantity and medium variety, whereas medium quantity and low variety, you would think that you would give the higher risk prisoners, the ones that have a high chance of kicking off, you would give them more food, but apparently it doesn't work like that. They've gone the other way, but that's what the game recommends, so there you are. And parole cutoff is also the same, so you can say recommend and it staggers the parole cutoff. So we got 15% for the supermax up to 40% for the minimum, and obviously we've got all of the paroles in there apart from the death row because, well, you can't have parole for death row. You do have the program for death row, which is the I can't remember exactly what it is called, but it'll be locked, so I don't think I can see it. No, there's one where they can get death row appeal, that's what it's called, death row appeal. So that is the overall changes for that. But if we just go to escape here and then extras, is it extras? I think it is in map settings, and turn on prisoner transfer, we can then close that and we get a new tab. This is normally an option that you would get if you start a new prison, but you can activate it for previous prisons, so that's pretty good. And we now get another tab for transfers. So what this does is allow us to set up different policies and criteria for each of the 3 prisoners grading in here. So we got medium, maximum and supermax in here at the moment. We don't have one for low because naturally they can't get any lower on the grading, so they can't downgrade or anything like that. So For the medium, you can see it's set up so no staff assaults for 3 days, and if you've done that, you get qualified. No murders for at least 3 days. Obviously, you can alter all of these. So 3, 4, 5. Hang on, that jumps up twice. So 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's because you can hold it. Right, okay, it's just a little bit... That's a little bit twitchy there. Anyway, so that is now set, and yeah, that is a bit twitchy. You can also say, look, I don't want that on at all, so you can say, right, prisoner transfer, I don't want any reform programs, so you can see estimated chance of reoffending 30%, it gives you these qualified. So if they're qualified for all of this, you get the option to review the transfers, and it shows you the prisoners that are eligible to be transferred. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So if you want to, you can click on them and set up a transfer. Or you can just say approve all and say yes, and that will approve all of the prisoners for the transfer. Similarly, for the medium sec, you can do that, and I've just approved that, so those will be transferred down to low risk. And there you are. That's pretty much what it is like. I haven't yet tried it in anger in a full game, but that's what this series is going to be about, where we go ahead and do all of these things, which means that when we come to the overall design, we're not going to be making something like this. This was just an example to show you a lot of the tweaks and changes. However, this is not really the best thing to have when it comes to a lot of these prisoner transfer stuff, because they never mix, and that was the point in this facility. But we want a option for them to have basically a lot of areas that are communal and common. So common room, we want the gymnasium, the new gymnasium, the canteens, and that sort of thing. We want all of those to be accessible by all prisoner types. However, we want to allow us to move the prisoners between different grades and give them more privileges as they go from the high risk down to a low risk. I haven't yet decided exactly what the prisoners will be. I'm thinking a good idea would have low, medium, and then high risk as a start, and then obviously we'll have to do protective custody, and following on for that, maybe even death row. We're not going to be doing a criminally insane prison on this one. That's, I think we've done that in previous series. I think we'll forgo that for now. Oh, one other thing I want to show you as well, if we go over to, where would it be? In logistics, you have the different grading here. So obviously you can set up grading for, well, it shows you, sorry, this is the overlay. It shows you the overlay for, like, there's the medium sec, and it shows you the overall security sector, how many inmates are housed in there, and apparently these are not set, which is interesting. And it shows you the total grade, maximum conditions, and it just gives you a nice little overview on what this is, which is fairly good. We'll go to max sec grading as well, and you can see the grading is actually a lot lower in there, and looks like the highest is actually the, looks like it's going to be the, yeah, it's actually the minimum sector, as you may imagine. So extra meal times a day, ample free time, and there's no gym access, there's no, it says hot showers. Apparently we don't have hot showers. That is a thing. Yes, we do not have hot showers, and I guess we can't have hot showers because there's no, I haven't got weather and temperature on, so I don't know how I would fix that. That's a new one. Hang on. No, water cooler, but not water heater. I wouldn't have thought that would have been active if it wasn't turned on, the weather and temperature. Anyway, I digress. Let's go over to, where would it be? Logistics. We sort that out. Room quality, we've seen. Laundry distribution, that's fine. Food distribution, none of that's changed. The jobs is not changed. We can say suit max grading, we haven't got any. We also have cell status, which shows you, which is really good. I think this was in, well, this was in previously, but this is, I think it's been changed a little bit. So you've got the occupied cell, the free cell. So free cell's in green, occupied is orange, and then we've got the gang, so gang soldier, and you can see also, there you go, gang leader, and then, yeah, we've got the different gang bits in there as well. It would be nice if these were, the actual symbols were colour-coded for the different gangs, but I mean, it's not too much of a problem, but that's a good little overview there. In terms of the, where is it? It is in utilities deployment. There's been a couple of changes here, so you can prioritise janitors. So you can say, I really want a janitor in there or in there, so you can prioritise janitors in here if you do so desire. Prioritise the area for gardener. That text is really small. I might have to alter that for the following series. We also got custom sector as well. So if we go to custom sector, I can now say, right, for example, this area down here, if we, again, it doesn't really make much of a difference for this facility, but say the entrance here, we wanted only minimum and medium sec, and then there you go. You now have a mixed one, so you can have only low and medium risk prisoners go into this area. Now that would be quite good for things like workshop, where even though you've got a workshop that is perhaps accessible by all prisoners, but if we check out in the regime, no, in the policy, so in this particular example, we've turned off prison labour for both the high risk and the supermax. So if you had a facility they had low up to supermax prisoners and you have some workers in there, I've turned off the work for them. I've taken the prison labour off, so they won't work in a workshop, but it doesn't mean they don't have access to it. So they could still go on there, they could still cause fights, they could steal items, all them problems. However, if you say, right, well, if this was a workshop, for example, you can say, right, well, I'm just going to turn off access to those prisoners, so I can say, right, well, this is definitely only accessible now by minimum and medium security prisoners, which means now not only do the the high and the supermax prisoners not have access to it, they also can't work in there as well. So it's just a little bit of a double buffer there. So yeah, that is not too bad at all. You can also set up what else can you set up? I think there's more priorities for certain things as well. Either way, that is a very, very brief overview of some of the changes there. As I said, you can set up some like shakedowns. So I want to shake down the medium or there you go, medium and minimum. So yeah, it's pretty good. And you can stop all. You can say, right, just search the max sec only. Lots of really good additions here. You've got free fire, so I can say free fire for max sec only. Yeah, this seems like a very... Oh, and lockdown as well, so you can lock down, say, medium. And there we can see all of the mediums being locked down, but it hasn't been locked down there. All of these changes, really good. Very, very happy with a lot of these things. Things that we've been wanting for quite some time, and they've actually gone a lot further than I thought that they would have done. So that is pretty good. It allows for some not only overhauls of previous facilities like this one and others where we've got a mixed facility, but also gives us a lot of new options for building the new one. Speaking of new stuff, we do have a lot of extra rooms, as I've mentioned. So we have different room types. We've got a new gymnasium there. So we can say, let's just get rid of that. And actually, no, let's put this in here. So we'll put the gymnasium in there. Oh, it looks like the gymnasium needs to be indoors, sadly. So we'll put that in there. And you need a minimum size 7x7, weights, bench, and gym mat. But if we go over to objects and scroll in, we can see we've got fans. We've got a gym mat there. We've got a table tennis table. We've got a dumbbell rack. We've got a treadmill. As I said, though, this could actually cause a little bit of a problem because we've got a punch bag and standard weights bench and all that in there. The problem... Oh, and actually a snack machine. They're in the snack machines. You could go... Well, I think it goes in the canteen. So you would place it in there. And obviously a boxing ring as well, but I can't place that because it is massive. We don't have any room for... Actually, no, let's place it in there. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah, you've got this new gymnasium, and that can possibly give the prisoners extra... I don't know if it can give you extra traits or whether it just improves them, but there is a note that it can change that. And there is our boxing ring with the gloves hanging off on the bottom right there, and also some blood all over the canvas, and the 11 logo in the centre, who's sponsoring the fighting, apparently, and who are the current developers of this. Obviously, Paradox Publishing, and Introversion no longer responsible for the game. It's, I believe, in the hands of 11. Either way, that is let's say, a brief overview of a lot of the tweaks, changes, and additions for the Bucket update, as well as the Cleared for Transfer free DLC. Next episode will be episode 1, where we go through and plan off the rough idea for the prison, and obviously we'll go through where the walls are and where roughly the rooms are. I do have an idea on what we want to accomplish. We will be including expansion into that, so what we plan off will not be the final design, but we will be doing some expansion and making sure that we build with that in mind. And overall, looking forward to the new series. As always, if you have any comments and suggestions, put them in the comments there. Thanks very much for watching, take care, and generic partings.